My name is Mark. I'm a pharmacist. Let's talk about penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic and it's available as both a tablet and an injection. Other drugs in this class are also referred to as penicillins, and there are lots of these. This is basically any drug that ends in "-cillin", like amoxicillin, ampicillin, and many, many others. Penicillin works by killing bacteria. It does not kill viruses. That's why you won't see doctors prescribe penicillin for things like a common cold. So penicillin works by inhibiting bacterial cell wall synthesis. Essentially what it does is it prevents the bacteria from being able to repair its cell membrane. So after a while, that bacteria starts looking like Swiss cheese and riddled with bullet holes that it can't repair. All the stuff then leaks out of the bacteria and it dies. It's a pretty gruesome death. But bacteria are smart, and they have evolved defense mechanisms against penicillin over the last 100 years. And they do this with a chemical called beta-lactamase. Beta-lactamase is an enzyme that attacks that four-membered ring in the middle of the penicillin molecule and explodes it, making the whole thing useless. You win this round, bacteria. But scientists went back to the lab and discovered that clavulanic acid has a greater affinity for beta-lactamase than penicillin. And so, by using clavulanic acid as a decoy, they can use up that enzyme, allowing the penicillin to slip in behind enemy lines and take out the bacteria. Let's talk history. Our story starts in 1928 with a guy named Alexander Fleming. Fleming is a scientist who goes on vacation and leaves his incubator full of growth plates to rot, essentially, while he's gone. When he comes back to the lab, he discovers that they're covered in mold and bacterial colonies and all sorts of growth. But he notices that the Penicillium molds have an area around the perimeter where there is no bacterial growth. This leads him to realize that he's discovered the first antibiotic. He's looking for a magic bullet, something that will kill bacteria but won't kill a human. So Fleming's research sits on the shelf for almost 10 years. And then in 1939, Ernst Chain, Howard Florey, and fungal expert Norman Heatley over in England, they get a hold of his samples and start working on a way to create more penicillin from that mold sample, and also devising experiments with extracting it and figuring out exactly how it can be used. They do some experiments on lab mice, and by injecting them with a very virulent strain of bacteria, they inject them with penicillin, and they come back the next day to discover that half of them have died and half of them haven't. And surprise, it works. Thanks, dead mice. By 1943, US and British scientists had discovered a way to mass produce penicillin on a large scale, enough to supply the entire Allied forces. The Germans, however, did not figure out how to mass produce penicillin until October of 1944. By then, it was too late. So let's review. Penicillin is a broad-spectrum antibiotic. It inhibits bacterial cell wall synthesis. It can be inactivated by beta-lactamase, and penicillin is a common allergen. Always double-check to make sure that patients are not allergic to penicillin. It's very common. So there you have it. Penicillin is an amazing drug. Definitely keep this one in your arsenal. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Also, let me know what other drugs you want to hear about next. We'll see you next time on RX Tales.